Instagram. I am live on YouTube, and I am live on Facebook as well. So with that being said, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to give a 30-second in count, and let's go. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, what's going down? This is Sean Bouldin, Sean B. However you know me, I am live in the office doing my straight talk, Lisa Straight Understanding. Today's topic will be control your triggers. Control your triggers. That's what I'm saying. You need to control your triggers. I need to control my triggers. We need to control our triggers. I think that our triggers is getting out of hand right now. Just social media is not helping, because guess what? With social media, we have all of these other things that help our triggers. We have all of this information that we keep on seeing. We have all this information that we keep on hearing. We have all of this information that we keep on listening to as far as music. And that is really starting to trigger us. We are now at a war. And I'm not talking Ukraine versus Russia. Ukraine versus Russia is definitely a war that is existing. And God bless them who are victims of that war. But we are having a war within our communities. I mean, politics is divided. Sports are divided. And our community, our families are divided. And I'm just getting real tired, and I'm getting passionate about addressing these things. And so if y'all heard me the last few weeks, I've been speaking about triggers and controlling them, and triggers, psychology, and a separation. And, you know, a lot of people, yesterday, the conversation I was going to have today was, somebody asked me, Sean, why is it that you only speak to women? And I was addressing that. It's not that I only speak with women, but it is the fact that when I do speak with a woman, which I do regularly, I do speak my women, people who I give consultation to, I do speak with the women that are my friends. I do speak with women in my family. I speak with a lot of women. So I don't only speak to women, because they were saying, it seems like you always are getting on women and what they are doing wrong and what's going on. And what it is that I get on whoever I am speaking with, including myself. And because I'm speaking with a woman, that is why you see me mainly talking with women or talking about women, because I don't like to talk about people who I'm not part of the conversation. So if you're not here, even if you want to bring them up, I had a conversation yesterday with a good friend, and she kept on bringing up her man and what he was doing. And I was like, he's not here. I don't want to speak about him. You have valid points of what you're bringing up. But right now, what is it that you are doing? What is it that you can do better? Because we can't change anybody else. We can only change ourselves. So with me, I'm evaluating myself always. What is it that I can do better? How is it that I can be a little bit more sensitive to people? How is it that I can be a little bit more considerate to people? And do I want to be considerate to people? Do I want to be sensitive? You know, these are things that I'm working on, and I'm maturing. And when I'm speaking to myself, which being a Gemini, sometimes I do, those things come up in conversation. But the topic at hand and why I even am bringing any of this up is control your triggers. I used the Will Smith and Jada Pinkett. I'm going to see if I can play this. See if I can play this clip that I just did. If not, I'm going to share it on Instagram, on YouTube, and on Facebook afterwards, after I'm finished this live broadcast. But it was a little clip that I had that said control your triggers, which was a combination of the clip that I shared a little while ago, from the conversation that I was having with Sherma on the Straight Wellness with Sherma, and our bystander and Sherman's husband also joined us, Marcus. Big up to you both. And I did a little clip of it, and the clip that I was speaking about was the slap. Now, this is a touchy topic for a lot of people. If I had plenty of conversations, if I was to say numerous, I would be exaggerating. No, I would be telling the truth. I have had numerous conversations regarding the slap, the Will Smith and Jada Pinkett slap, since it happened out back in February. Yes, I am still speaking of it. The reason being is because there's such a pivotal uh, perspective that's necessary. There's such a pivotal perspective that's necessary, that's often overlooked. And that perspective is that it was okay, and Jada Pinkett was able to get a pass by many, not all, but by many, for her triggered emotion. Now we're not we it's pretty hard to ignore Will's triggered emotion and his reaction to it. But it's very easy to ignore and not see or recognize the subtle triggered reaction that Jada had. And I'm not condemning Jada. I'm not blaming Jada for Will's reaction to his trigger. But I'm saying that we have a tendency to overlook the reaction of her triggered emotion. Now, the triggering was because a man was doing his job. Chris Rock was doing his job, and his job, as they know, y'all might not know, and y'all might be triggered by the fact of what he was doing because you get sensitive as well when you hear somebody doing a joke on you and things of that nature. Yes, you might well be triggered, but Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith both are veterans, seasoned veterans at that, in this entertainment industry, and they understand the job. They understand the assignment. So when Chris Rock is coming up there, and if they had any ill will or any sentiments prior to that might have been triggering to them, they had options. Let me give you a few of them. All right, here's a few options they had. One option, they didn't have to attend. Yes, Will was nominated, but guess what? Back in the days in 88, 89, Will was also nominated for a Grammy. Fresh Prince, Will Smith, Jazzy Jeff, and the Fresh Prince, they were nominated for a Grammy. The Grammys did not want to show hip hop or the rappers, they didn't want to televise the rappers. So what they did, or what we did collectively, and I joined this, and I was part of this historical moment and pivotal moment in rap history, we boycotted the Grammys. Now, although the moment of why we was boycotted was now historic, because since then the Grammys have not only been televised, but they have been a pivotal portion of the Grammys ever since we boycotted it back in 89. So with that being said, he had the option, or both him and his wife had the option to boycott, which they did a couple of years earlier, if y'all remember. So because he was nominated does not mean he needed to go. So if they were thinking that, or feeling a little sensitive, then they could have not joined, and they could have not gone. That's one. Two, they could have asked not to be seated up front. Because if you go to a comedy show, right, you know that if you go up to the front of the stage, there's a chance or possibility that that comic who's coming on, or one of those comics that are coming on, might target you and make you the butt of their jokes. And if you're going to go to a comedy show knowing that you're there for jokes, or jokes are part of it, yeah, they could tell some stories that are humorous, but are very true, but you're there for jokes. So if you know this, and Will and Jada both knew this, they both were well aware of this, they could have asked, you know what? I'd rather be seated a little further back instead of right up front. But no, not their egos. And I don't want to say that it was just their egos. That's just my perception, because Hollywood has a bunch of egos. So I would think that no, not there you go. They want to sit up front and be seen, be the prestigious feeling that you get when you are up front and personal to that stage, and all cameras on you, all attention is on you, and that's kind of. But as you become a celebrity or as you become famous, this is something that becomes almost intoxicating. You almost have to have it. You want to have it. And so, because I understand that, this is why I'm coming up with this observation that possibly could have happened. But the point that I'm making is they could have asked these, sit back a little further so that Chris Rock might not have seen them. He probably wouldn't have looked for Will and Jada. He probably had already, before he came on stage, looked to see who was there so that he could come up with some material that would be good for entertaining purposes. But anyway, that's two things that they could have did to control their triggers, the topic of today. By the way, subscribe, share, subscribe, and like. And comment. If you want to come on, feel free to join me. I have no reason why not to share. But if this is a subject that really touches you near and dear, join me. And I'm talking about, again, control your triggers. Because it's real easy. You can control your triggers. But these are some ways that I'm giving options of how they could control their triggers. And their triggers being how they reacted to the offense that they felt when Chris Rock said a joke about them. Now, I've been in comedy shows and they might have got on my hairline or my, big head or my whatever they might have got on. But I had to take the punches and roll with them because that's what you expect when you are at a comedy show, unless your ego is not intact. Ego and pride will take you places where your butt and your ass cannot sustain or cash the check that it's going to write. Your ego will tell you, they better not talking joke about me. Who do they think they are? Your ego will tell you that. Your ego will tell you, you're not going to talk about my life. Nuh-uh, not in these Oscars. Your ego might do that. But anyway, control your triggers. They were triggered by these jokes. And guess what they did? Jada, she rolled her eyes. And this is part of why I keep on bringing it to everybody's attention. While, albeit, rolling your eyes is not being physical, it is still a sense of disrespect. And anybody who has learned to roll their eyes, that is usually why they roll them. It's because they're not happy with something. And basically, it comes from when we were children, girls and boys. Girls, you roll your eyes, not women. Women, you shouldn't be rolling your eyes. You should remember that came and you learned that when you was a little girl. The same way men, we should not be putting our hands up and putting our hands on people because that's what we did when we were little boys. So why is it that when the little boy comes out of Will, which everybody can get triggered and it's a possibility, everyone wants to say, oh, he shouldn't have, he couldn't have, he didn't. Little boys or men, we don't usually see that. Yo, I slapped him, I didn't kill him. It's usually the little boy rationalization of when we're triggered. The same way the little girl rationalization is, oh, she just rolled her eye, she ain't hurt nobody. It's just a difference between what you feel is hurt and what we feel is hurt. We feel that I just slapped him. That was disciplinary. That wasn't supposed to be. And no, I'm not arguing whether I disagree or not, whether I agree with it or not. I'm just saying that it was the little boy in him that had him react that way. The same way it was the little girl in her. And if you're agreeing with that, it's the little girl in you that's agreeing with that. Just like if we're agreeing with he should have went up there and slapped him, it's the little boy in us that are agreeing with us. So as I speak with women and I get on Jada and her reaction, I'm still talking about men as well and his reaction. It was a little boy in him like it was a little girl in her. And nobody likes to hear little boy and little girl when they're being spoken about. But again, if you reacted in the way of where you learned, rolling your eyes, sucking your teeth, you learned that as a little girl. That was your way to, be a little rebellious against a rule or something you didn't like, or being a little brat because you were spoiled. That's where that derives. That is the root of sucking your teeth, unless you're from the Caribbean, where it's kind of part of their dialect sometimes. But if it's part of your reaction to something that triggered you, which is what happened when we was little. Yeah, our mother said something we ain't like, rolling her eye. A friend said something, rolling her eyes. That is the little kid in you, whether it's male or female. Usually the women y'all resort to that little girl rolling of the eyes. Control your triggers. Men, we go ahead and we want to get physical, put hands on somebody. Control your triggers. That is the little boy in you. That is the little kid in you who was like, I'm gonna fight him if he go ahead and step on my shoe. The little boy in you. So yo, I ain't trying to just, this is just straight talk, yo. This is why I came up here. Because it's really giving us division because we just have different ways. And I just got a text. I'm going to read it. Triggers are caused by traumatic experiences from a past occurrence. People are not often aware of those triggers. Triggers can be a word said or a person's disposition, and they are all connected to emotions. You're absolutely correct, but it does not negate the fact of what I'm saying. Control your triggers. How you control that? Go to therapy. How do you control that? Try and embrace when somebody is sharing with you that you have these qualities. Try not to deny it. Try not to be in denial. Try to understand that yes, I might have had some trauma that is unresolved, because triggers is only that. You can only have triggers if it's something that is unresolved, because if it is resolved, it won't trigger you. Or you would know how to not have a reaction that can be detrimental not only to yourself but to others. And that's really what concerns me the most about uncontrolled triggers, and why I'm speaking about control your triggers. And again, you just said it, LBA Scott, Miss Luce, you just said it. Uh, it is often, not always, but often something that has happened from our past. Again, that's why I use the description of little kid, the little boy or the little girl in you. Because yes, the little boy is the one putting hands on somebody because he got offended or he got upset. The little girl in someone is the one rolling her eyes when she only hears something. And we are grown now. But if you have the tendency to want to roll your eyes, and guess what? You are dealing with some unresolved trauma that made you roll your eyes and go back and resort to that little kid in you. And guess what? If you want to put hands on somebody, yes, you were triggered and are resorting back to the little kid in you from when you were a little kid. So it don't matter why. I'm not sitting here saying why a person gets triggered, because that's a whole nother topic, a whole nother conversation, and we can get into that another day. But what I'm saying is that yes, we all have triggers, we all are human. And so I don't condemn people for their triggers. I try to understand it, and I'm asking everyone to try and understand. Will was just triggered. Yes, it does take healing. That man needs healing. We all know that. But so does that woman, because she as well was triggered. But we tend to believe that because it was not physical, that it weighs different. And Sherma shared something with me in our last conversation. She said, Sean, the, what it is it looks different coming from a man. She was absolutely right. It took me some time to process when she said, Sean, For you guys, it's different. It looks different. You know why? I see somebody who's triggered over here who got a main face in their comments. They're triggered in my Facebook comment. I'm going to go ahead. Oh, I see 2 comments. Let me go ahead and see what they're saying. All right. Some people need to get slapped. My man Bear is with us. He says some people need to get slapped. Let me show his comment. And you know what, Bear? I can't even. That's the young men in us. But nah, because guess what? You're right. Discipline is something that is measured differently in a lot of different cultures in a lot of different ways. We condone discipline when it comes to authority like police or like the country or like something that the judge or what have you. We condone some of those authorities. This whole country is built on disciplining and correcting ways through authoritative measures. And so we have different opinions on those authoritative measures, but this is what this country was based on. And basically what Bear was saying and what some people needed to get slapped is because this country, this world even, has been designed with authoritative ways. Now, what we're arguing over or debating over often, which is pointless to me, but what we're debating over is the measure of those disciplinary acts. And that to me is a whole nother topic. So again, I'm not going on whether or not, which discipline is worse or how you should discipline or the measuring of the disciplinary action. I'm not going on that. I don't want to argue that right now. That's not the debate. The debate is recognizing the root of the offense or the root of the trigger. And I just saw Cummins Remy, and she disagrees with that. And I know that about her. She says, again, he is not right. Violence is never good. Again, that is an opinion. And we've had a lot of discussions, and that's just, again, an argument or a conversation about the measure of discipline. Now, some people will agree with you, Miss Cummings, that no one should ever have the right to be violent against someone else. But guess what? Many will disagree as well. And again, if we're talking about if there is no type of disciplinary act and it goes from animals to humans, they have disciplinary measures that are taken. So I cannot really argue which one is right or wrong, because that's a longer conversation. But to your point, I hear you saying keep your hands to yourself. But again, that is your opinion. They have their opinion. I'm not going to debate the opinions right now, because that's a whole nother conversation, as I said. But the point is, remember, it is your opinion versus someone else's. It is what you think versus what they think. And I think personally, my opinion is that neither one should be the measure of what is correct or not. All right. So with that being said, let's go back to the topic at hand, which is control your triggers. Stop rolling your eyes. Control the roll. Men, control the hands. Be a man. Control your hands. Control your triggers. That's the point of the conversation today and what I'm arguing. So I'm not going on the measuring of how you go ahead. Recognize your triggers is part of controlling them, Miss Cummings. I agree. Self-defense cannot be violent. I agree. And in fairness, Bear, I have had conversations with Mrs. Cummings, and she has said that in those self-defense scenarios, she doesn't think that it is putting your hands on someone. It is defending yourself. That's why, again, we can debate this and it becomes a longer conversation, because you have both great points. And so let's not lose sight of what the point of today is, and that is control your triggers. Control your triggers. Control the roll for you ladies. Control the rolling of your eye. Stop making it normal. Because guess what? Those little normal things can become a problem that we don't want to have to deal with. An example, you go ahead and a police officer who is feeling and ain't in control of his emotions pulls you over. And you go ahead and have an attitude, which is the root of rolling your eyes in the first place. And you roll your eyes at him or suck your teeth. He now might, under his reaction to his trigger of you sucking your teeth, your trigger of him pulling you over and you got an attitude about it, it just continues to escalate. And we don't have time to, it becomes now after everybody has triggered, the ask for forgiveness comes into play. And that right there is just a cycle that we continue to go in. And I'm like, yo, we got to stop going through this cycle. And the way we start stopping going through the cycle is by control your triggers. I'm not good at it. I still get triggered all the time. But this is a reminder to me as well. Men, control your triggers. Don't put hands on people. Don't roll your eye. Try to have an attitude. I was in a car accident last night. Let me tell y'all. Lady done wedged me in. I'm driving. Wedged me in. Hit my car. Bow. I'm stuck in the car right here like this, y'all. This is her car. And this is my car. I'm stuck between the curb and her car. I can't even get out the car. I was just sitting here thinking about controlling triggers. So what I did, I was like, you know what? It is what it is. And I just sat back and I controlled what usually would have resulted in road rage, because my usual reaction, without me being mindful of, as Ms. Cummings says, without me being mindful of recognizing my triggers, I would have gotten out. Yo, what the hell you doing? Why you ain't blah, 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 blah? I would have flipped out. But because I had just finished having these and doing these control your triggers and looking at this over and over and over again, some of the conversations I had with Sherma on Straight Wellness and some of the conversations I had last week on Straight Talk, I was able to control my trigger, and I didn't get triggered. And I say that because it was the first time in a while that I did not get triggered or get road rage on something that would have usually created road rage in me. Flight or fight is a base, human traits. So trigger is a base in either. You're right. You're absolutely right. You don't always know what your triggers are until something happens. You are loose. You are absolutely right. But this is why we take the time to have these conversations so you can identify them. This is why I'm sitting here right now, sweating some time, having passion that I have to have these conversations with y'all. Is to recognize them and to bring those things to our attention. Broaden our perspectives is my main reason for Straight Talk, Lisa Straight Understanding. To broaden your perspective, to broaden my perspective, to collectively broaden our perspective. And if you have these conversations and you start thinking about, man, what triggers me? Or what did I get mad at last? That's the first way to start. Why did I get mad when I was last mad? And evaluate how valuable that energy, those actions, and those motives and roots of what made you mad, how valuable were they? Were they something that you're willing to die for? Because quite frankly, that usually is the argument. If you're willing to die for something that is a principle or something that you believe in firmly, then it might not be a trigger. That's just a value that you stand on. But if you're not willing to die for it, lose your life, meaning physically or even lose your life or time from your life by getting locked up, then it's probably a trigger. And you need to evaluate that. Whatever you're mad, whenever you're mad, you've been triggered. Period. So whenever we get mad, we've been triggered. Now it's up to us to take the time, or what I'm challenging us to do is take the time to understand why we were mad in the first place. I could have been mad when the lady hit my car. I didn't know it was a lady. I didn't know whether it was a man, a lady. I could have been mad as soon as it got hit because there was no reason for it. Maybe I am a little pissed off about it. Anyway, but I could have gotten mad because she hit my car. But I was having these conversations and had these straight talks. And so I actually thought about like, okay, I'm alive. My car's still running. Yeah, it's got some cosmetic damage. That's like how I used to think about stepping on my shoes. When I was young, the little boy in me, and again, I'm going to say this clearly, little boys, your triggers make you sometimes get physical. Little girls, your trigger sometimes makes you roll your eyes. Peace, Hawk. Your triggers definitely control your triggers. Yes, the little boy in us is what put hands on people. We all know that when somebody stepped on your shoe, it was a little boy in you that wanted to fight. When somebody disrespected you, it was a little boy in you that wanted to put hands or hurt somebody. We're grown now. Understand, unless it's protecting yourself, defending your family. It was a trigger. Like I said, unless you're ready to die for it, whether it be going to jail or going to your grave, it's a trigger. Now, if you're willing to die for it, it's basically a principle, something you stand for. But if you're not willing, that's how I used to measure things. I used to think of myself in a situation. I said, if I'm locked up for this, or if I die for this, locked up is what I said. Will I be able to sit in jail and be like, all right, I'll do it again? Or will I feel like an asshole because I did something out of my emotions because I was triggered? And that's the measure that I give myself. And I challenge y'all to measure and challenge yourself. If you get triggered, think about it. Would you be locked up proudly like, I'll do it again? I can say that if somebody put their hands on my daughter, violated my family, and I got locked up because of it, I'm going to be like, all right. If it happened again, I'd do the same thing. But I can't say that if I would have in that car that hit me, I would have flipped out, had road rage. And I went out and flipped out and then got arrested. My car won. Even if it was totaled, I'm still healthy. I'm still alive. Even if it was, like I said, totaled, it's a car. Would I be comfortable locked up for any amount of time? Never mind what my sentence will be. Being locked up overnight. Would I be comfortable with being locked up overnight because I couldn't control my emotion and I flipped out because my car got hit and it wasn't my fault? That's really what it boils down to. My car got hit and it wasn't my fault. And because I'm trying to control things and, you should have did this, you should have did that. Why you running to my car? I'm now locked up. Would I sit comfortably in that cell knowing that? No, I would not. Now, you might be able to, and you might do that, and that's, again, becomes what you stand for and your principles. My principles at this age in my life as a grown man are not what my principles were when I was a little kid. I was a little kid, and guess what? I would have, at that point, flipped out and been prideful of it. So whatever. It's the little boy in you that triggers and put hands on people. And ladies, it's the little girl on you that's rolling your eyes. So if you want to sit there and condone rolling the eyes of Jada Pinkett Smith when she rolled her eyes, that's the little girl in you. That's your trauma that you had when you was a little kid that's unresolved. That's what triggers you. And if you're a little boy that's sitting there saying, well, Will, yeah, he should have did that. He should have protected his wife. That's your little boy in you. That's the little kid in you. Because guess what? He did not put hands on his wife. He did not do anything. And if you felt that strongly about it, then you should have did more than just slapped him. If that was your principle, you would have been able to die for it. You didn't get any consequences for it. You didn't have any consequences. And that is part of why it was a trigger. It was the little boy in Will, like it was a little girl in Jada. So as you can see, I'm getting triggered now. No, I'm just messing with y'all. But yeah, that's why I said control your triggers. Again, control your triggers. So this is straight talk, leads to straight understanding. I'm gonna read some more comments. Anybody want to join me, please feel free. You don't have to join me on YouTube and Facebook right now. You can join me here on Instagram before I got about 10 more minutes before I'm getting out of here. But we do this every Saturday. By the way, woo, I need y'all to like. I need y'all to subscribe. I need y'all to share. Share, share, share. I need y'all to like it. Whether you like it, or whether you like what I'm saying, or whether you hate what I'm saying. I got so many people that despise what I say, think that I'm arrogant, think that I'm a a-hole, think that I get it. But the point is, I'm not asking you to like me. I'm asking you to support what it is that I'm taking the time out to do, which is have conversations with y'all, not only for my self benefit of broadening my perspective, but also for your benefit that you can broaden your perspectives as well. So we could read some of these comments and we're able to speak on it. But again, the topic today, in case you missed it, subscribe, like, is control your triggers. I'm gonna shoot out a video after this. I need you to share that video because it's about this whole subject. It summarizes this whole straight talk tonight. Control your triggers. Ladies, control your triggers. Control the rolling of the eyes, all that. Control the roll. Men, be a man, control your hands. Be a man, control your hands. Don't put your hands on people because you feel a little uptight. Protecting yourself is not what I'm referring to, but because you feel that somebody done rubbed you the wrong way, control your hands. If you can't sit up in jail for the rest of your life or lose your life for it, it ain't worth doing it. Period. Period. As my man Bear says, it's not off a petty scenario. And that's what triggers are. When we're triggered, it's not principle. It's not something we stand on. It's petty scenarios. And this is what my issue with a lot of people, women, I'm speaking specifically to you now. You're normalizing that petty nonsense, that tit for tat, that rolling the eyes is okay. And it should be. Check each other on that. The same way you want us to check ourselves on not controlling our reaction to something that triggers us. You want us not to put hands and not to act like a little boy and put hands on somebody. And I agree. But at the same time, I need y'all to understand y'all also have a responsibility in this, into checking your lady friends or your who your peers who feeling like rolling their eyes. Well, that's okay. She should be able to do that. She only rolled her eyes. You know how many times I heard that? Every time I bring it up, that's the first reaction I get with somebody who wants to defend that bull crap triggering of their bull crap reaction to the trigger of her emotions. And I'll say it and I'll stand 10 toes on it. Check a lady who is doing that or a man who is doing that. We have to check each other. Iron sharpens iron. I am my brother keeper. Everybody says, who are you to judge? We are all here to judge. We are here to judge each other, to give balance in life. In relationships, we are here not to control each other. We are here to give balance to each other. Because if we do not give balance, we will run a buck and just go wild. That's what they call wild animals. And right now, we're in a society of wilding out. How many people? The award show came on the other day. I couldn't even look at it because all it was, is twerking the new talent? You see how your ass cheeks can clap? Is that the new talent that we're displaying right now? Is killing and shooting the new talent for men that you displaying? You ain't shooting nobody but yourself. So if it's a talent, why are you doing it the weak, cowardly way and just shooting the easiest target to people who you know ain't got no gun, who you could go ahead and bully? You punk. Yeah, I'm talking to you, whoever it applies to. Both genders, both people, whatever. Twerking is not a talent. Shooting a gun is not a talent. Being triggered and reacting is not a principle or something that should be looked at or awarded. All right. So I hope that was something. If I got any comments or anybody want to join me, what's going on, twin? Today is Mental Health Day. I did not know that in his comments. Thank you for sharing it with me because it's a great topic to speak about on Mental Health Day. They need to control their mouth as well. Oh, again, the little boy and the little girl, you absolutely right. Control their mouth. But again, freedom of speech is what everybody leans on. All right. If you think it's freedom of speech, go to the airport and say, I got a bomb. See how free your speech is. You can control your mouth there when you're going through the airport and they tell you, sir, get back over there. And we're gonna need you to go through that metal detector again. We're gonna need to check your bags. If you can allow somebody to do and respect that, then you should be able to respect the fact of your mouth to those who you love, especially because we don't have any control over our mouths to those who we love. Now, again, I'm a victim of it. I'm sorry, not a victim. I am a person who doesn't control my mouth that well. And, there are consequences to that. I don't control my mouth when it's not just in personally, man. My ex, she used to tell me, Sean, you could have just been quiet. You didn't have to say nothing. And lo and behold, and like I said, sometimes it's just out of curiosity. Like, yeah, why are you asking me that? Like, why do I have to do that? And they're not used to being questioned, whether it's a police officer, but anybody in authority is not used to being questioned, including parents, not used to being questioned. They don't like being questioned and they like being in control. I just happen to like to understand what's going on and why. So I do happen to ask, and I don't always control my mouth, but it's not usually in a disrespectful manner. Yes, it could be offensive. Yes, I'm not sensitive at times. I agree. I'm working on that. But at the same time, it's not meant to be offensive. I know how to be offensive. And this is what I share with other people. If I hurt your feelings, this is how you know whether it's on accident or not. I'm going to get right out of here. It's 3 minutes left. If your feelings are hurt and you bring it to my attention and I don't say, oh, my fault, I apologize. Maybe it was intentional. But let me tell you. I know how to curse. I know how to be real disrespectful. Like everyone does. So if I'm going to be disrespectful, it's not going to be in a subtle way. As as Bear just said, so-and-so got smacked because it was a principle. And guess what? We all know how to do that. That's my point. Greetings, bro. That's my point. We all know how to be if we're standing on a principle. And like I said, I'm not saying, we can have another debate about what principles are and what principles aren't. But the point that I made today, and I'm going to continue to make, and I might have just lost my train of thought, but control your triggers, control your triggers, control your triggers. All right. So with that being said, I'm about to wrap it up. And thank you all for joining me. Thank you for the comments. And you didn't have to put them out there like that, Bear. But I understood, and like I said, there's certain things and certain things that I have done that again, I would have done again. Like I said, if you can sit in jail, and this is a measure that I do, and I'm just sharing it with y'all, maybe it can help you out. If you could sit in jail, uh understanding that whatever you did that you're in jail for is something that you would do again and don't have any regrets about it, then by all means, that's something that is called a principle that you're standing on. Now, some principles that people stand on, like, yo, you disrespected me, other people would not agree that it's a strong enough principle. But to each his own. And I'm not here to judge what your principles are or tell you what your principles should be. I understand my principles and I'm working hard on learning them better. So me trying to figure out what your principles are and tell you what you should be doing, whatever. But anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. It's a straight talk, Lisa, straight understanding. Thank you for joining me. Again, control your triggers. We all are guilty of it. We all have things that trigger us. Just be mindful and think about what those things are and try and better prepare to not react to them, because it's not about what triggers us always, it's about how we react to those triggers, and usually we react very disrespectfully. And when we normalize that disrespect, that's really when it becomes a cycle and a whirlwind of out of control, lack of courtesy and lack of love for one another, and it becomes inhumane at times. And so we gotta do better, y'all. All right, Sean Bouldin, Sean B, straight talk, straight understanding. Thank you for joining me. Subscribe down here on YouTube. Like, share over there on Facebook, Instagram, and come see me again next week, 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern. Straight talk, Lisa, straight understanding. Also, 7 a.m. on Sundays, I'm straight love with my man Gooch and Carlos. Thursdays, straight fun and straight talking about the music industry with my man Embry and my man Ja Blues. And Friday, straight wellness with the one and only Sherman P. Clark, who is great as well, licensed therapist, and that's at 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern, Friday. Thursday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Monday, 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern, and Sunday, 7 a.m. Eastern, 4 a.m. Pacific. Ma, I love you. Thank you. And here's a prayer for you all. I'm leaving now. Straight talk, Lisa, straight understanding. Control your triggers. Control your triggers. Heavenly Father, we come to you today to give you the praise and honor that you so rightfully deserve. We ask that you help us control our triggers. You help us identify the things that are the root of those triggers, and you help us to resolve those triggers, whether it be through therapy or whether it be through just straight talking, straight understanding. We just ask that you give us guidance on how we can better control our triggers, how we can better be courteous to one another, how we can better love one another so that we can have better time and better places with each other. I ask that you do that for all those who I know and love, all those who are joining me right now, all those who are here to hear this prayer, all those who happen to time in to hear these prayers. And I thank you for that in advance. Forgive us for our sins. Forgive us for when we do get triggers. Forgive us for our reaction to those triggers that might have harmed ourselves or anyone else. And allow us to get better. Allow us to understand forgiveness, because a lot of people are having resentment because they were victims of those triggers, or they can't let go and forgive when they were violated by someone else who was triggered. So I just ask that you help us forgive, and you help us not to keep bitterness or resentment, and that we're able to get better and get better and get better. I say these things humbly in your son Jesus Christ's blessed name. However, those who I'm praying for may know you, Lord, Father. Thank you. Amen and amen. Amen and amen. All right, y'all. I'm gonna be out of here. I hope. Sandra, what's up? Control your triggers. All right, control your triggers. I'm Sean Bouldin, Sean B. Good night, queens. Good night, kings. I love you all. Let there be love in life. Control your triggers. Control your triggers. All right, y'all. Peace. Peace.